very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous and had his hands like this.
Because as far as I can tell, he spent the last 5 years beating the shit out of this woman.
Hayden's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Brian Hickerson, who has been arrested several times for domestic violence against the actress.
I felt my head snap back and smash into the wall, and sharp pain shot down into my back.
Brian did not become emotional until EMS declared her officially deceased.
Just 2 days after Hayden Panettiere's reported death on August 16th, disturbing details were already flooding out. And now people are zeroing in on what the video frames as her last words, because they seem to point back to years of pressure, trauma, and chaos behind the scenes. Hayden built a huge career from infancy, landing major roles in Scream, Bring It On, Ice Princess, Nashville, and more. But the darker claim here is that while the public saw a working child star, privately, she was carrying industry pressure, isolation, and a mother some critics believe was living through her success.
Now Panettiere's mother is speaking out in a new interview, saying this person in her life that we've been trying to get rid of for quite some time was with her at her death. That was Brian Hickerson. Mother calls her daughter an amazingly talented person, but adds, I think young people who grow up in the entertainment industry.
And that is exactly why people are side-eyeing the mother now. Because instead of staying low, she's giving interview after interview, while critics accuse her of trying to profit off the tragedy all over again.
Telling NBC News exclusively in a phone interview, Hayden sadly lost her way, and I wish it were different. I wish she had stayed true to herself because she had many incredible attributes. Vogel, who used to be Panettiere's manager, said the last time she and her daughter spoke was in October. In May, Panettiere addressing their strained relationship on the Jay Shetty podcast.
I can't even remember a time where she wasn't a momager. You know, where everything didn't revolve around business.
Shetty calling Panettiere brave yesterday, writing, quote, "You should never have had to experience the things you did."
About Hayden's career and her challenges, she said, I think Hayden was an amazingly talented person in so many departments. It is a struggle and it's a very challenging industry, and it's not unusual for them to sadly find the wrong path.
Then came the emotional interviews. Hayden's mother told NBC that Hayden had lost her way and said the industry can push young stars down the wrong path, while the timeline made everything feel even colder since Hayden herself had just opened up on Jay Shetty's podcast about how damaged that mother-daughter relationship had become. So now people are looking at those polished public comments and asking a brutal question. Is this grief? Or is this image control after years of pain Hayden had already started speaking about for herself?
To feel the emotions that you're feeling, it can be a very sad and very traumatizing experience. Who doesn't want a relationship with their mother? I was in such a lonely, desperate place that I was more afraid of being alone than I was with being with somebody who was physically hurting me.
In a statement to ET, she says, quote, "The fact that Brian was with Hayden at the time of her death is unsurprising, but devastating nonetheless." Leslie also claims Brian enabled Hayden and her family had been trying to get rid of him for quite some time.
And that is what makes the backlash worse, because critics say her mother keeps pointing fingers everywhere else, while never really owning the role she allegedly played in Hayden's suffering.
At such a young age, financially and emotionally supporting the family, and
it just built and built and built up, and so much resentment and anger.
Where's your mother?
She's right there.
Excuse me?
Mom, we're doing an interview. Yeah, thanks. My mother.
E.T. was with Hayden and her momager during her years as a child star.
What defines a good mom to you?
Oh gosh. I think my mom describes a good mom. I think someone who understands, who knows that what you're going through.
I know what the moms have to go through, and I know how much they have on their plate.
It is heartbreaking watching old clips of little Hayden still trying to praise her mother, still trying to believe she had someone in her corner, when later in life, she would admit just how much resentment had built up from carrying her family emotionally and financially so young. Those child star interviews hit differently now, because what once looked sweet suddenly looks like a kid being trained to smile through way too much.
Coincidental at all
that Hayden Panettiere lost her life directly after exposing Hollywood. And it's very unfortunate to see, and it's even sadder that no one even knows the cause.
It's a very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous and had his hand.
And now some online are going even further, speculating that Hayden's death came suspiciously close to her speaking about alleged grooming and exploitation in Hollywood.
Speaks about this woman. She calls her Stella, and this friend pretty much set her up to be a yacht girl. You've heard of yachting before? The yacht girls, they go to France, they're on these yachts, they're paid a lot of money to sleep with powerful men. Well, that's what Hayden fell into because she trusted this woman, Stella. Hayden talks about this story when she was 18 years old, being set up to sleep with this man who was really rich, really famous, very powerful, and 30 years old.
Hayden described the extremely harrowing incident on the Jay Shetty podcast, and the story shows just one incident that she went through that traumatized her and led her down the road of being an addict for much of her adult life.
Led by somebody that I had grown to trust and see as a protector and somebody who had my back, and to be walked down, down the stairs, and it was as like a surprise, presented as though it was like a surprise. And it was this very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous and had his hands like this, like this was just, an average day for him. And this is something that happens all the time. And I waited for her to leave, and I mean that lion in me, that fire in me, that my hair stood on end, and I became ferocious. I was like, this is not happening. But I had nowhere to hide. Led by somebody that I had grown to trust and see as a protector and somebody who had my back, and to be walked down, down the stairs, and it was as like a surprise, presented as though it was like a surprise. And it was this very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous and had his hands like this, like this was just, an average day for him. And this is something that happens all the time. And I waited for her to leave, and I mean that lion in me, that fire in me, that my hair stood on end, and I became ferocious. I was like, this is not happening. But I had nowhere.
The ugliest part of this story is the alleged setup Hayden described from her late teens. In the account repeated here, she trusted a woman she saw as protective, only to allegedly be led into a tiny room and placed beside a famous, undressed older man, as if it were completely normal. Online, some people have tried to identify that woman as Diana Jenkins, but that claim remains disputed and has been denied. What is documented more clearly is Hayden's own description of feeling betrayed, used, and treated like a call girl by someone she believed was a friend. And for a lot of viewers, that is the moment everything clicks into place. The trauma, the addiction spiral, the fear, and the feeling that Hayden had been surrounded by people who benefited from her long before they protected her.
The record, even having to go to court after getting into altercations with Hayden.
As we are learning more about what happened inside. According to the Greenville, South Carolina police report, Hayden's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Brian Hickerson, who has been arrested several times for domestic violence against the actress, and his brother Zach were both at the apartment at the time of the 36-year-old's death, one of them calling 911.
Have a cardiac arrest, overdose.
Then the focus swings hard back to Brian Hickerson, because once police details started surfacing, people immediately began asking what his exact role was in Hayden's final hours. The video leans into that suspicion heavily, pointing to his history of domestic violence arrests involving Hayden and asking whether this was simply another tragic overdose scene or whether there are still major questions left unanswered. Even while acknowledging Hayden's addiction struggles, the narration keeps circling the same point. Brian's presence at the scene makes people deeply uneasy.
came out sideways in these behaviors, and me leaning on substances for anxiety and depression, and then
Hayden had already spoken publicly about leaning on substances while trying to survive depression, anxiety, postpartum issues, and the emotional wreckage of abuse.
Just days after an LA County judge denied Hickerson's attempts to dismiss and or reduce his past felony domestic violence charges involving Hayden.
Hayden herself admitted he repeatedly laid hands on her in her memoir, This Is Me, a reckoning. People have been up in arms suspecting foul play, especially considering she was found dead in his apartment, despite the fact they should not have been together. This was only made worse by the fact that Hayden was an addict that had been struggling for years.
And that is what has people spiraling now, because her reported death came just days after a judge denied Brian's effort to dismiss or reduce past felony domestic violence charges tied to Hayden. Add in the fact that she was found in his apartment, plus her long history of addiction, and people online were immediately split between relapse, foul play, and something still not fully explained.
I peeled back all those layers of denial and let my drunken self think about and feel everything Brian had done in the time we'd been together.
The memoir excerpts only made the situation darker, because Hayden laid out how a romantic night turned into a drunken nightmare, showing just how fast things could flip from laughter to fear.
I think the year earlier. It was a dangerous, uncomfortable, uncontrollable kind of rage. Come at me. Give me all you got. You can't win, I said, taunting Brian while we were in the midst of arguing. I always refused to play the victim, and my toughness revealed the fact that my fight or flight reaction fell firmly in the fight category. I wanted to attack because I was sure Brian was about to attack me. What did you fucking say? Brian snarled as he pushed me up against a wall. What did you say to me? I felt my head snap back and smash into the wall, and a sharp pain shot down into my back. I braced my body to absorb the shock, then I closed my eyes. Clap. Brian slapped me hard, and a familiar sting radiated out from my cheek and across my entire body. Okay, motherfucker, I am out of here, I said, as I broke free and ran upstairs, my head throbbing, my cheek burnt.
And she made it painfully clear this was not some one-time blow-up. In her own telling, she was terrified of Brian, yet still trapped in the cycle of loving who she thought he was.
In her memoir released months ago, including Hickerson being charged with multiple counts of felony abuse.
Brian pleaded no contest, but I knew that with what I was telling the police, he was sure to be found guilty. It ate at me, but I had to do what was right in the eyes of the law. Tell that to my heart, though. Despite all he'd done to me, I still loved Brian for who I believed he was.
And it wasn't just her. Her neighbor also stated that she saw proof of the actress being abused, and she often heard Hayden and Brian arguing. It got so bad and so frequent that the housing complex where Hayden lived put up a...
Then the neighbor testimony made everything even harder to dismiss. According to the account repeated here, people nearby had allegedly heard fight after fight, saw signs of abuse, and even watched Hayden leave on a gurney looking terrified. The situation was reportedly so severe that her building circulated a warning telling residents to call 911 if Brian showed up on the property. That is why so many people are refusing to treat this like random gossip, because by this point the pattern being described is not subtle anymore. It is repeated fear, repeated violence allegations, repeated interventions, and a woman people say looked completely different when she was around him.
Considering she had to call 911 multiple times and even saw Hayden being carried away on a gurney after being beaten by Hickerson.
What was your reaction when you heard the news about Hayden's death?
It's really devastating. She's so young and she had so much life left to live.
Today, Greenville cops were seen at the home of Brian Hickerson's grandparents. Cops say it was a welfare check unrelated to Hayden's death. We're also learning more about Hayden's final hours. Brian Hickerson's brother, a local preacher named Zach Hickerson, arrived at the Airbnb around 1:50 p.m. on Sunday. Published reports say he found his brother asleep in bed and Hayden was unconscious and unresponsive.
And then came the final hours timeline, which only added more tension because published reports said Brian's brother arrived and found Brian asleep, while Hayden was already unconscious and unresponsive.
In 2022, that turbulent dynamic exploded into a dramatic public brawl outside Hollywood's Sunset Marquis Hotel.
Brian, jail!
In the TMZ footage, Brian, wearing all white, is seen getting pummeled by another group. Hayden then tries to break things up, but appears to get kicked in the face and tossed to the pavement.
The video then flashes back to that explosive 2022 hotel fight, reminding viewers just how public and chaotic this relationship had already become.
Is actually demonic, laughing while talking about putting hands on her and making fun of her depression. A recent interview revealed him completely relaxed about beating her up multiple times.
Man, I mean, I think it speaks for itself. I mean, I got arrested for, abusing her, and I wouldn't blame her friends for being pissed off with me. So, I don't really have much to say on that. We've been together for 8 years. I mean, that's a topic of conversation that came up a lot. So, I had a couple opportunities to apologize for it and reflect on it. So, I don't know, you'd have to ask her what she thinks about it. But, it's, you never lay hands on a woman, bottom line. Well, coming from a former landscaper, which I was, all you gotta do is spray some Roundup right there on it. She wasn't talking about me, she was talking about her terrible mother.
He was quick to off.
What really disturbed people was how casual Brian sounded in later interviews while discussing abuse allegations Hayden herself had written about. Instead of sounding horrified by his own behavior, he came off almost detached, almost rehearsed, and that rubbed a lot of viewers the wrong way. Then, to make it worse, he pivoted into blaming Hayden's mother, as if that somehow erased his own actions. And that is where the sympathy for him completely collapses for a lot of people. Because even if Hayden's relationship with her mother was deeply damaging, that does not magically wipe away the violence she described from him.
And I got physical with her, and I got arrested, spent the night in jail, and, that's just what happens when you lay hands on women. Yes, I have been working on myself. Shia LaBeouf leads our AA group, The Isolators. The man saved my life. I do have some things to say about Hayden's mom. Hayden's mother is by far one of the worst people I've ever met in my life. And, I just can't with her. She's terrible.
He then proceeded to brush off his abuse, saying that it was something people did all the time.
And I just want people to know, people do this all the time, It's like, you think I'm the only one that did that? No. People do that all the time. You saw Apex, right?
Yep.
Same damn thing, right? So.
The narration saves one last gut punch for the end. The claim that Brian not only minimized the abuse, but practically normalized it, talking as if men do this all the time and framing domestic violence as some common mistake instead of a terrifying pattern. Then the final police detail lands like ice water. While EMS were trying to save Hayden, reports said his brother Zach was visibly distraught, but Brian allegedly did not become emotional until she was declared dead. After that, officers say he showed them Hayden's medications. So the video closes on the question that has everybody arguing. Was this simply the tragic end of years of addiction and abuse? Or is there still something about Hayden's death that does not sit right?